Welcome back and thank you very much. The Daily Graphic reports this morning that Nalerigu, Damongo named capitals of Northeast Savannah regions NEIP greenhouse project to create 10,000 jobs. And we disagree with EC plaintiffs in Ropa case, 13 million euros wastewater treatment plant for Kumasi. Those are the front page stories. The Independent reports that Ghana strengthens partnerships with German businesses, Dr. Baumia, and China wants stronger collaboration in fighting illegal mining. The Ghanaian Times this morning reports that jubilations anger greed announcement of regional capitals. Veep opens third German-African Business Summit in Accra. And President declares new two regions, Nalerigu as capital of Northeast and Damongo, new capital of Savannah region. 4 injured as protesting drivers clash with soldiers in Kumasi. The Daily Statesman, NDC and the poison of revolutionist past. Ebony Davis finds the real African vibe in Africa, and new regions take shape. Nalerigu, Damongo named capitals of Northeast and Savannah. Boot for boot hits Ashanti. NDC beats up regional chairman. The Daily Guide, 2 cops shot in Bolga. Fresh German funding for Ghana. And the banner headline, NDC signed $46 million fertilizer deal after elections. Dr. Stephen Opuni's photo is there. Nalerigu, Damongo get capital status, and NDC chairman chased with guns. Maybe finally we do the Finder newspaper, and it says that 2 regions get legal backing. Each new region gets 20 million Ghana cedis seed capital. Over 500 chieftaincy disputes pending, and sword cutting for 10,000 affordable housing units. There, my guest this morning, the Member of Parliament for Bolsa South, Dr. Clement Apaak. Good morning, Doc. And I always forget the greeting.
You know I have to greet you in Willie.
I know.
First of all, let me respond by saying good morning to you and good morning to my colleague Member of Parliament.
Absolutely.
And the chair of my committee.
Right.
Is the chair of the Foreign
Affairs Committee. Yes,
of which
Mr.
I am
Honorable Frank Anod-Domprey.
I'm a member. Well. So, Solu, then you say Solu Nalong.
Solu Nalong.
Kubasa, then you say Kubasa.
Kubasa. Okay.
Solu Nalong.
Kubasa. Nice one. We got it there. And the Honorable Frank Anod-Domprey is the MP for Solomon Territory. Honorable, welcome. Good morning. Good to have you here.
Grateful.
Great.
Grateful.
Let
me say good morning to my very respected Dr. Apaak.
Right.
Very dependable friend and a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Very, very important personality amongst the membership, and I have a lot of respect.
So one more time, Solu.
Solu Nalong.
Solu
Nalong. Yes.
Solu Nalong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to worry. We'll take a trip down.
We'll settle in the Bolsa way.
Yes, the
anyway,
Bolsa way.
Let's start off. Yesterday, 2 regions got legal backing, and we were all happy until later when we heard that there's some disturbances in Salagam, that the MPP office there had been set ablaze. Some billboards bearing the president's photo has also been pulled down, and this morning we're getting updates that about 7 people have been arrested, and they also a foiled attempt. The shots are on your screen right now. A foiled attempt to ban the DC's office and the home had been foiled. We will get updates on that. But Doc, let me start with you. Was this expected?
Well, first of all, let me say good morning again to viewers, and to say that it is disheartening, to say the least. But I think we need to put the conversation into the proper perspective.
Right.
Indeed, it is allowed by the Constitution that if and when the conditions are right and the processes are followed, more regions can be created. You will remember that in the build-up to the 2016 election, all the major political parties, and in this case the NDC and the MPP,
right,
we all captured the issue of creating additional regions in our manifestos.
Right.
Because I think it was clear that there was an overwhelming sentiment. And indeed, both parties had felt that the need had arisen and the time was ripe for that to be done. So whether it was going to be the NDC or the MPP, it was bound to happen.
Subsequently, we had elements within your party asking whether it was necessary.
Well, obviously, you never heard me say that.
Well, but
because if we didn't think that it was justified, we clearly would not have captured it in our manifesto.
Right.
So I think that the fact that it was in our manifesto for a major campaign clearly was evident
Okay.
of the fact that we would have implemented it. But be as it may, the processes have gone through, and rightly so, the final phase, if you like, and as far as the processes are concerned, are ongoing. And so you would expect that different interest groups would have an interest as to where what should go. And I think the current disagreement or what precipitated the violent behavior that we just saw had to do with the siting of the regional capital. And indeed, we had, conversations in the public space, different groups, youth groups, even in some cases, some traditional leaders, if you like, lobbying publicly for the capitals of these new regions to be cited in specific locations.
But the sector minister was also clear.
Interest.
Mr. Damboche had said that the lobbyists cannot push them to do what they
Well,
want
the
to
point
do.
is that, the lobbyists can lobby, but if you look at the Constitution and the powers conferred on the president, I mean, it is his decision, ultimately.
Right.
And I would assume that he would have done some consultations. He would have weighed a number of factors and conditions and prospects before making the decisions that he made. Because whilst it is indeed the people who have decided that they want the region, they have to vote at a referendum, a certain percentage have to vote yes for it to happen. When it comes to choosing where the regional capital should be sited, the law does not give that to the people.
Right.
It is the prerogative of the president.
Right.
Now, it then raises the question as to whether or not certain groups were given assurances or promised that where they wanted the capitals to be would be where the capitals would be. If that was the case, and they end up not getting the capital sited where perhaps they were promised or assured that the capitals would be sited at, then this type of behavior can be a reaction.
But certainly not the
to
president,
some level
not,
of
not the
disappointment.
president who promised that.
No, we don't know. See,
Okay.
this is purely political. I mean, let's be honest. I know certain factors would have been considered
Right.
before making a decision on where to cite it. But once it's the prerogative of the president is a politician.
Right.
He is in office by virtue of a political party. He will make a political decision. But that decision in itself, I am not saying is wrong. But it will be informed by factors that you and I cannot fully appreciate, because we are not in the back room to hear the kinds of conversations that would have gone on to inform where the capital should be sited. But what I have noticed, and as far as the Savannah region, and then the northeast region are concerned, is that the traditional capitals seem to have been chosen as the regional capitals. Right. Because if you look at the northeast, largely the Mampugu area, the Nairi, which is based in Nalergu, is the traditional capital. Right. And within the context of the Gunjas as well, the paramount chief, the Yagbunra, is based in Damongo. So as an anthropologist, looking at that, I'm seeing a trend. I am seeing a trend that perhaps the president has chosen this to be coterminous with the traditional capitals.
Was the violence necessary?
The dominant groups in those areas.
Was this
I
violence
think that is
necessary?
condemnable. Look, let's face it. Let's face it. That we have the responsibility to condemn violent acts and behavior, no matter who perpetrates them, for whatever reason, because they cannot be justified. I mean, this is the pure destruction of property. I mean, it may be the MPP office that has been attacked and destroyed, but it doesn't make it right. It is wrong. It is wrong and must be condemned. No matter what your grievances are, resorting to acts of lawlessness and violence, particularly within this context, cannot be justified. It cannot be justified. And I think that it is time that we begin to call a spade a spade. trying to excuse violent conduct or behavior that is disruptive to life and property and has the ability to disturb the peace cannot be condoned under any circumstance. So I condemn what has occurred, and I hope that, you know, the law will be allowed to take its course.
Honorable Dr. Coming for me, was anybody promised, as the indication, or if you like, the suggestion we're getting, that there could have been a possible promise to a group of people that, look, we're going to make Salaga, for example, the capital in this instance? Was anybody, do you know if a promise was made?
Well, let me say good morning to my cherished constituents in Salma Dredge. First of all, I think that I want to pick it up from where Dr. ended up. I think that there is a unanimity in terms of the need to create these regions, and amongst the two key political parties, the NPP and the NDC, is that fine expression in our manifesto. So I was taken aback when at a point in time, or somewhere along the line, the narration began to change when I engaged some notable speakers of our colleagues were beginning to change course. We're saying that even the creation of the regions were not necessary. Be it as it may, it's important for us to recognize that the president and then the sector minister have conducted themselves extremely well. They've conducted themselves well to the extent that, I mean, taking it in context, they've gone through the motion. When they put together the commission has done its work. They respected the law. I think even at a point in time, somebody took this matter to court, and the court ruled on it.
Absolutely, right.
Now, we all need to know that the president has a prerogative in the naming of the capital. But I've had the opportunity to read the executive summary of the report of the commission. And I can tell you in confidence that the president respected or yielded to the views of the overlords of those areas, the kingdom, the areas involved. Because even though it is within his powers to say that this area or that area should be the capital, the president, and you know, he himself is a constitutional lawyer, in his wisdom, respected the views of the king. And especially in the area in question where the violence has, you know, occurred. It was the express will of the king. So I was extremely taken aback when aftermath we read news of, you know, violence being perpetrated. I think that we have come to a point in our development drive as a country where things like this, we shouldn't take kindly to it. I must tell you, I'm surprised the national security and the security agencies could not pick signals of this, because it could not have happened just on the spur of the moment. I'm sure people started talking, young men started meeting, and, you know, threats were even issued for them to have, I wouldn't want to say they have sat down, but some of these things are avoidable. And I'm extremely sad about how, you know, they went about that. I can tell you in confidence that nobody promised anybody that certain places will be given the regional capital. No, that promise was never made. Even if, I'm just playing the devil's advocate, even if that was the case, you still have no basis to go and perpetuate that extent of violence that they are engaged in. We cannot play with these things. This country is moving forward. We all need to join in the drive in developing our country.
What would then give them the impetus to go hard and have the impunity of this lawlessness?
I don't know why.
Somebody suggests that because in the past people have not been punished, and there are a stream of examples. For example, in the northern region, when the Tamale Teaching Hospital boss was chased out, somebody was picked up, but the last time we heard about it was that he has been picked up, and that was it. We don't know if he's in jail, he's been punished. And so the recurrence, picking up people, like we're told this morning, 7 people have been picked up, that ends the matter.
No, it would not end. I do. For instance, if you recall, when some violence were perpetrated in the Central region, and were reliably informed that some MPP youth were involved. In this case, we cannot have a confirmation that they were MPP youth. But those that were perpetrated in the Central region, for instance, we got a confirmation that MPP youth were involved. They were sent to the law courts. and then the judgment were pronounced. That for me is positive. Now, look, for instance, Wale Wale, where the vice president comes from. One would have thought that, well, because the vice president comes from there, if it is all about machinations, and then it's about, well, my interest, what I wish to do, and not respecting the key element of access. Because, you know, in the choice of a regional capital, what is important, if you look at the report, the executive report of the commission, I think that the center should be about 100 kilometers from the other places. Right. And then the issue about access is so important, and that is what
I mean, those considerations I'm sure were made. But my question is this, and a specific reference to the Tamale Teaching Hospital. When the CEO was chased out, we saw the faces of the people. The ringleader was picked up. We were shown his photo on TV. That was the last that happened to him.
You have a point.
So that somebody says that could be a springboard for this kind of thing to happen.
You can make that argument.
Nobody was punished.
You can make that argument, that I say that is a fair point to make. But I'm also saying that we have instances where people have perpetuated violence under this administration, under Akufo-Addo's administration, and they have been sent to court, and pronouncement have come from the court. What about that too? Now, I was making a point to Wale Wale.
We'll come to Wale Wale. Let's go on to the telephone lines now. Zubeida Ismail is on the phone line. She's our correspondent from the northern region. Zubeida, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. What more can you report?
Information that I gathered from the police this morning indicates that 7 persons were arrested early this dawn, and then they are currently in police custody at the East Gonja Police Headquarters. The PRO also indicated that they are also they are continuing search for some more suspects, and once they are able to identify them or they are able to pick where they are currently, they will pick them up. Now, this was because these persons are suspected to be those behind the burning of the Salaga South NPP constituency office, which happened somewhere around 5:30 p.m. Tuesday. This burning was because the people said the president has snubbed them or snubbed their calls for the siting of the regional capital for the newly created Savannah region in Salaga. Johnny, it will interest you to know that the demand they are making is at the back of the fact that Salaga is the only NPP seat in the entire Gonja land, and so they were making reference to this seat they think they have achieved for the NPP, and so to them, it was the only gift the president could give them to say thank you for making me your candidate or for voting for an NPP MP in your constituency. But of course, we cannot say that because of that, people should go about to they should go on a rampage and burn stuff. They also pulled down billboards, every single billboard that had the picture of the portrait of the president from any NPP color. They put all these billboards down. They were actually heading to the office of the next municipal assembly to burn that down, including the residents of the MCU. But a swift intervention by the police foiled that attempt, and it was
Zubeida,
after that 7 persons were arrested.
Zubeida, do we know what these 7 persons have been charged with as of this point?
No, picked up, and then later this morning, the charges that will be leveled against these persons will be made known as we monitor the situation. But for now, we do not know what charges these persons are going to face.
Those who indicated or suggested that, well, because Salaga is a stronghold of the NPP, and which is why they thought that this could have been a perfect gig for them, did they also indicate that a promise was made to them to that effect, that Salaga would be the capital for the northeastern region?
Johnny, for promises, no, they have not made reference to any promise made by either the president or any member of the NPP during the campaign season. They have not mentioned that. For them, they think that the president should have heeded to their call by making Salaga the regional capital for the Savannah region. And that is why, once that was not made, they went on the rampage. For promises, I must say they have not mentioned any promises, Johnny.
The mood and feeling at this point in Salaga, I'm sure you'd want to paint that picture for us. What is it?
It's all mixed feelings because people were very dull. The overlord of Gonjaland, Yagbonura Tuntumba Boresa, had made it clear that Damongo was the preferred choice of the traditional council. But you still found sections of the people in Salaga still doubting whether indeed the president would heed to the advice or the call by the traditional council to make Damongo the regional capital. And so, even though it was a request by the overlord, people still felt that no, the request by the overlord should not be heeded to, but instead their request of Salaga being made the regional capital should be heeded. And so that was the hope they kept holding. But of course, at the end, they did not get that. So the feeling is one of a mixed one as to whether people should choose celebrate because Damongo has mentioned the regional capital, or they should join the bandwagon of people going on rampage and being sad about this whole situation.
Zubeida, thank you very much for the update this morning. And that's Zubeida Ismail. She's a woman on the beat up there in the Northern Region reporting to us that 7 persons have been picked up. Nobody has been charged yet, but the police is on a manhunt for some more suspects to subsequently charge them this morning. We'll keep up and share the fine details with you as we make progress. We'll come to you, Doc, shortly, but let's go to... yes, you're talking about Wale Wale. We will come to Wale Wale. Let's make a few comments. You have generated a lot of them. Yeah. Dr. Nanama Ado is here.
Johnny, and people are joining us with their comments this morning. Good morning, TV3. Government should allow the election of regional capitals to be subject for voting to deal.
Well, you would have to hold on a bit for us. So, Mr. Adodobre, we're talking about Wale Wale.
I was just making a point in context that if it was like promises, machinations, and gerrymandering, then Wale Wale, reasonably, anybody can make the point that should have become the capital.
Right.
But the president respected the views of the overlord.
Right. The traditional councils.
Yes, and hence yielded to where they preferred. And I think that is something that is commendable.
Right.
So the young men who are perpetuating the violence need to respect that, in fact, and if you go to that part of Ghana, there's a lot of respect to the overlords and, such focal people in this area. So, but I'm happy some of the young men have been picked up. The law should be allowed to work. And then those who are involved in this violence should be made to face the law. And as I said earlier on, we are too much in a hurry to develop our country. Right. And we cannot allow such a simple process. And for all the process that we've gone through to this stage, for just allow some deviant to hold the whole country to ransom and perpetuate such violence on us, it is most unacceptable and they should be dealt with by law.
Thank you very much. Doctor is back. Doc, welcome. What are the people saying on WhatsApp?
Yes, Johnny, let's pick their views. Good morning, TV3. Government should allow the election of regional capitals to be subject for voting to deal with any acrimoning, bias, and controversies. That's coming from Osma Rinsung in Tamale. Al-Hassan Wawana and Wa says, good morning to you and your panelists. It's pretty sad to hear what is happening in Salaga after Damongo was named the capital of Savannah region. That's what Al-Hassan says. Then good morning. Good and rightful thinking Ghanaians are getting tired of these two political armed robbers, you call them, the NDC and the MPP, because the monies these two political parties borrowed since 1992 is very huge and big, and together with taxpayers' money and the resources. But anyway, between two armed robbers, one will be better than the other. God is watching. That's coming from Ustaz Justice Idrisu Adam in Tamale. On Friday, OT capital will be mentioned. Wherever it lands, it is still OT. Peace, peace, peace. That's coming from Emmanuel in Pebuo. The incident that occurred in Salaga is rather unfortunate, but I am not surprised because the MPP government seems not to care about seriously fighting hooliganism in Ghana. Their people, their buildings. Clement from Chiriponi. Then good morning, TV3. Nalerugu as regional capital of Northeast region is the conflict of interest. Using drones for health delivery is as a result of administrative failure. This is coming from Gazale Duko. Then good morning, TV3. C. let the government and his people know that our books do not contain the map of Ghana that talks about these new regions. We don't have a problem about the creation. After all, one Ghana, one people. My major concern, however, is that teachers cannot manufacture new textbooks that talk about these newly created regions and their capitals. By and large, some of these things should have been taken into consideration before the creation. Get informed that our schools do not have textbooks that the pupils can touch and feel or even look at pictures. Help me ask how many years it takes before new textbooks are given to schools. Thank you. Well, that's Derek from Bongo. Then also, why should the choosing of the capital of the newly created regions create violence, disturbances, and barbaric acts? So will the pulling down of President Akufo-Addo billboards and banning of MPP offices change the mind of the president? Instead of the people to think about the massive infrastructural development and all the people, the youth and the future leaders of which President Akufo-Addo thought of before the creation of the new regions. Just look at what some irresponsible personalities are doing. The laws of the land should deal drastically with the perpetrators. This coming from Yao Osankide in Taifa. In the Northeast region, Dr. Bawumia promised the people of Gambaga, the capital of Northeast, but we are disappointed. Then final one coming from Philip Inada. He says, good morning, TVP. I hear they say they will effect arrest on anyone involved in the violence in Salaga on Tuesday, 12 February 2019. Why don't they do so? I suppose we allow the president to set up a committee of inquiry to look into the case to find the facts on why it happened, as in the case of the recent by-election in Ayawa. So, Johnny, these are some of the views of viewers out there.
Philip's sarcastic comment.
Very sarcastic indeed.
Interesting there. But Doc, let me come to you now. The political implication of what's just happened in Salaga South, the choosing of the two towns and the subsequent mentioning of 4 others yet to come. How should we move forward in our march?
Well, this is a very critical time in terms of managing the fallout, because obviously, you know, one group or the other, one part of the new region or the other is going to feel let down, depending on where the capital is sited. And I'm glad that you have raised this, because what has happened should serve as a very quick wake-up call alert for perhaps some background work to be done. And even as Honorable Anodon said, I mean, it is important that our security agencies are also active, because the telltale signs were there, that there was a potential that some disgruntled or disappointed group would likely want to seek overt attention. And that is what this is all about.
Right.
Because you don't expect that the president, on the basis of this, would withdraw the decision that has already been made and formalized. But they want to be noticed for feeling let down and disappointed.
The people in Gambaga are responding differently.
Yes, well, as you just read,
they are disappointed,
Gambaga,
but they are not bearing
indicating
anything.
that they were promised the capital by the vice president. It has gone to Nalerigu. But, of course, they have taken it in a stride. And that is what we would expect, because once these decisions are made, we have to live with them. You may feel disappointed, you may feel let down. There are other ways of expressing your disappointment to whoever made that promise to you. And if you read the content of the statements that have come out, as your reporter in Northern Region also narrated, there is no indication that a promise was made, at least from the persons that she has contacted so far. But you also see that they pointed to the fact that they felt that they had done a lot for the MPP by voting the only MPP seat, as they claim, in Gonjaland. And therefore, they expected to be rewarded by the president for voting for the MPP. But even if that's the case, burning the party office in Salaga, plotting to attack the residents of the DC and also the office. How does that impact the president? He is here in Accra. He is at the Jubilee House. This is your own people. It is your own property. The Assembly building is actually not owned by the president.
Right.
It's owned by the state.
The district, yeah.
The residence that the DCE lives in is owned by the state. And that is why it is important that no matter how aggrieved we may feel, it is important that we find avenues in these kinds of situations to seek redress in a way that will not be disruptive.
Right.
So there's
Mr.
a lot more that we can discuss on this
and I'll
matter,
put
but
the same
those are my
question to
comments
you.
on it.
4 more capitals will be named, I'm sure that in the coming days. What is the big deal and how should we move forward in that agenda, especially looking at what has happened in Salaga, unfortunate as it is?
I think that we've been nudged rudely, and it's also a wake-up call. In as much as I congratulate Honorable Dambuche, because I know the load of work that has gone in there, I think that there is more work to be done. And here, I think we cannot distinguish or leave out the overlords and the traditional leaders and the opinion leaders in these setups. They have to come and have a go in terms of, speaking to the people, letting them understand why the capital will have to go to certain places, and the fact that when the capital goes to A or B, it doesn't mean that all is lost. We cannot leave everything out there to government, because the players, the multitude of players in all this scheme of things, and I think that the sector minister would have to do more. MPs who are in various catchment areas will also have to involve themselves. This is a national project. And then it shouldn't be like, well, if it doesn't go well, it goes against the government. The vicissitudes will be around, and it will have its impact on whoever wins the election ultimately. So all of us should support the process and help to see to its success. Because I think for a long time, and I'm happy that there was a consensus that these regions should be created, between the two political
But
parties.
the overarching aim was to distribute the national cake effectively and efficiently so everybody gets a piece of it. It does appear from another school of thought that, well, the scramble for the regional capital is because they believe that key resources will come to where the regional capital is, to the deprivation of the other places that will not have it. Moving forward, how should we prosecute that agenda as well?
You see, that I'm quick to concede that. I mean, one has to concede that. I mean, if the regional capital is located at a point, to all intent and purposes, more resources will go to these.
With all our local governance structure and the laws.
That is the point. And that is the difficulty associated with this whole, business. But I still believe that there is a way we can, our body language, our speeches, and then we should involve the minority as well, because it is not a business that of the executive doing all by itself. The minority should be involved in this process.
Yesterday I saw Adam Mutawakil and Dr. Sakara Foster there.
That's encouraging. When they speak, don't forget, they're also focal people. They are people who command influence. When they speak, it will also have the impact in the healing process, and also ensuring that we build consensus and agree on what to do. So I think that is the way we have to go about the whole process. But I want to commend the president and the MPP administration particularly, because, look, one would have thought that we would have yielded to pressures coming from our supposed stronghold. Okay. Ordinarily, anybody would have done that. But we respected the view of the overlord. And that is something that's commendable.
Right.
Doc, it's just unfortunate that aftermath they have had issues, but I have all the
police say they are in charge. Doc,
I
put the same question I put to Mr. Anodompre. The distribution of the national cake. Yes, we can have the capital here, resources will come there, but should that be to the disadvantage of those who don't have the regional capitals? And the Upper West comes in this equation after it was created. Still, they cry for a lot of things.
Well, I would say every region still cries for a lot of things, including my own Upper East region, which is actually older than Upper West. Right. It used to be Upper region before Upper West was carved out. The truth is that when you have a place designated as a capital, it is a magnet because it becomes the center of activity.
Right.
And once you have that magnetic pull by that center, it naturally comes with resources. And so traditionally, as is the case, resources will come there and then would be dispersed to the other communities. But going forward, we need to look at alternative models of what we can do to ensure that persons who are not in the capital don't feel left out. And I think that if we were to...
auxiliary staff,
Yes.
appointment of regional,
things like that.
minister.
Very well. Not just that. But I have heard, a case being made that with the coming into being of these new regions, part of the trajectory is that major institutions are not clustered in one place and that they are dispersed.
Okay.
If that can be done, I think that it would be the beginning of giving another shot in the arm to our,
So we
struggle
don't
to
have
decentralize.
Accra situation where everything is dotted around one small
And some of
place.
us have not been too happy, even with the fact that even as a nation, you have to come to Accra for everything. Some of us believe that it is not fair. I mean, why can't I go to Boliga to apply for a passport and I have to go all the way to Tamale or come to Accra, for example? So I think we need to also use this as a boost for the effort to decentralize. Because having everything concentrated in one place, even for security reasons these days, is not the best.
They're getting 20 million, and this is my final thing to you, 20 million seed capital. Is that enough?
Well, I would say it's not enough. Because if you look at what is required, to even get a new district going, let alone to speak about a region. 20 million for all 6 of them, right?
Yes, everybody gets 20.
Is definitely not sufficient. But of course, it's a start. But I certainly would not believe that anyone would agree that 20 million divided amongst the 6 of them will be sufficient.
How much would have been sufficient?
Well, it is hard to tell, but I know that 20 million will not be sufficient. Because even putting up, a regional level health facility, as you know, in itself would consume more than half.
Right.
We are to talk about the administrative facilities where perhaps the minister and his deputy would be. You are looking at
Regional police
fire
office.
service, police. So obviously, and we're also even looking at road infrastructure, for example. And we will also even think about, if you like, other ancillary facilities for the public servants who are going to be moving into these places that hitherto didn't have the facilities to host them because there was no need to have such personalities in those areas. All of that has to be provided.
Interesting. Honorable Anok, interesting message from Shamima Muslim. Says, yes, it says,
We're student leaders together.
I know. Remember, says, hi to your guest and ask another. Where has he put his crusading spear? That was your alias back in the day, contesting for those.
Shamima was a very close friend, a very good friend. We had the new struggles, a very intelligent student leader. Shamima, unfortunately, we have moved on, and we need to move on.
So you are heading your crusading spear.
No, we have to move on. Now, on the point that
20 million, is it enough?
I think it's a good beginning. I mean, whichever way you view it, it's a good beginning. We also need to be careful. We don't throw the national budget out of gear. We have a bit of constraints and challenges. I think that it's a good beginning. I would say that. And you ask Doc, how much is enough? He says he will not be able to tell.
But I gave an example of something that can consume this entire amount.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. But I certainly is the first year. Okay. We are going to do more. I know how passionate the president is about this whole regions, and the fact that we need to take a cue from what has happened before, where it will not just be the fanfare of creating the regions, but it will also follow up with the needed, we do the needful, so that it comes along with the needed project and development that we all expected. But I think the parliament, we also have an oversight role to play.
Right.
When Doc says that other ancillaries and facilities don't necessarily overly concentrate in the regional capitals. Parliament, we can begin that.
Well, I mean, speaking from a position of government, I'm sure that we could even have auxiliary staff, you know, some of the regional staff, you know, appointed from other parts of the region, so that everybody feels involved.
Yes, when we do that, I mean, it becomes all inclusive, and we'll be able to cool down tempers for people to appreciate that there is a real paradigm shift from what has happened before. Because I think that they are also informed of what happened before. When the regional capitals are named, then that's the end of it. I mean, everything is overly concentrated there. I think we need to pick a very good lessons, to pick a cue from that, and going forward to
picking people to work there. It shouldn't be job for party boys and girls.
I see.
People must be recruited based on their competence.
Yes, it will be.
I agree that the appointment of the political reps, fine, but the rest of the bureaucracy, who are needed, it should be based on merit.
I see.
Professionalism, not job for the boys.
That's like an assured Dr.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your Tuesday morning. Dr. Clement Park is the MP for Bosa South. Most grateful for your time. And Frank Anadompe is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Insawam Jointuri area. He's also the Chairman for the Foreign Affairs Committee of Ghana's Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And thank you for watching. Thanks for your messages.